Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, I want to talk about some manga that I read. I'm back on that manga grind, and I wanted to talk about a series that I've been talking about, although I've only talked about like one installment in the series thus far. But this series is all about spies, assassins, and telepaths. I am referring to Spy Family, Volume 2 by Tatsuya Endo, which was published around 2019. I've talked about Tatsuya Endo on this channel before, so I don't need to go into that great of detail. But he's a manga writer. He's been writing for quite some time, a number of series, but the only one that seems to have taken off thus far and had like a mass amount of popularity is Spy Family, which even non-manga people like me have heard about. And I've been enjoying reading this thus far. Volume 1 was pretty good, and Volume 2 was even better. So very much looking forward to more of Endo's writing as the series continues. What's funny is I actually bought this from my local bookstore. Don't forget to patronize your local bookstores. But then I also accidentally checked it out from the library because I had forgotten that I bought it since it was so long ago. Also, don't forget to patronize your local libraries. They might have interesting books that you've already bought but have forgotten about. But they're there and it's great. But yeah, go check out your bookstores and your libraries because it's always good to patronize those local resources in the community before the conservatives fight to take it away from you because they're horrible people. Without further ado, let's talk about Volume 2 of Spy Family. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So Volume 2 of Spy Family once again focuses on Anya, the young telepath, Loid, the code name for Twilight, or code name Twilight. He is a spy, and Yor, secretly an assassin. They have decided to form a family for all of their individual needs, and things seem to be going well for them. At the start of the story, Anya is admitted into Eden Academy, which will help Loid as he tries to get closer to a man named Desmond, who he is trying to gather information about and potentially kill, it seems. And to celebrate getting into Eden Academy, Loid expenses a castle trip where they rent out a castle for a day, and then he invites his spy friends to put on a bit of a show for Anya, who is very much into spy movies and TV shows and whatnot, which makes her happy. They go out and buy Anya a uniform for the academy, but Loid has to go to work, and while Yor is buying dinner and groceries and whatnot, a gang of ruffians try to kidnap Anya because they see that she's going to Eden, and people who go to Eden seem to have money. But before they can do that, Yor, who is very well trained, kicks all of their butts, and she even shows Anya how to defend herself, which is pretty quality there. The next day is the first day of school, and Loid is very nervous that Anya isn't going to be able to enter into like the top 1% of students who get into the Imperial Students program, which will allow him to get closer to Desmond. So he's kind of hoping that Anya becomes friends with Damien Desmond, Desmond's son. And that turns out to not really be the case, as Desmond immediately looks down upon Anya because she doesn't come from a very wealthy family, and her father, Loid, is a psychologist, so he's not really that prestigious in society. And Anya wants to hurt Damien, but she realizes that, as Yor tells her, like a smart person chooses their fights and doesn't immediately use their skills to hurt other people. But unfortunately, Damien torments her so much that when the teachers aren't looking, she punches him, and like this does eventually get her into trouble. If you get like 8 demerits or something like that, that will result in your expulsion from the school. So Loid is very much nervous about this entire situation, and the next day, he tries to get Anya to apologize, but he doesn't really trust that Anya is going to do it. So he dresses up in disguise, and he's seen all around the school. But it doesn't stop Anya from noticing that he's there, because again, she can read minds and tell that he's trying to kettle her into an apology. She does apologize to Desmond, and it's kind of hinted that he might have feelings for her, but he ends up running off. But very luckily for Anya, she does have another friend named Becky that she seems to be bonding with in school. So that's very nice for her. And then Yor and Loid have a discussion about real family and how like they seem to be one, but it's also very clear that they all have roles, and so it's still pretty pretend there. And then we also see Yuri in the story, who is Yor's brother. Yuri finds out that Yor has been married for the past year, at least according to the documents, and he has questions about who Loid is. We find out that Yuri works for the secret police, which he justifies by saying that he's protecting Yor from people like the spies who wish to hurt the country. And the secret police are looking for Loid because they managed to capture one of his confidants, but they don't quite know who Twilight is yet. And as the story comes to a close, Yuri visits the family and it's left at that cliffhanger there, so we wonder what's going to happen when Yuri comes into contact with Loid. In terms of analysis, there is a fair bit to talk about with Volume 2 of Spy Family. Again, one of the big themes that Endo is talking about here is that of family and the illusion of family. According to the various characters and Endo, nothing matters more than family in this story. Family is very important. It makes people feel loved. Anya is searching for her family so she doesn't have to go back to the orphanage. And even Yor notes that like she feels extremely close to her brother, and like she feels very content with this new family that she's found. But that's what we're told. But what we actually see is that things aren't quite like that. That there's a little bit of lying and whatnot going on. But yeah, as I mentioned before, Yor grows closer to Anya, and Yuri even notes like what he's doing for his sister's safety, for the safety of the country, by working for the secret police and doing bad things to people he views as bad. But even though Yor is growing closer to Anya, and even Yuri is arguing that he's trying to make the country safer for his sister, like there's this value of family, but there also seems to be a lot of lying going on. Everyone is lying to everyone else. Like Loid is lying to Anya, even though he doesn't realize that Anya knows the truth. He's lying to Yor about Anya being his true child. Yor is lying to Loid about being, just a regular woman because she's a super assassin of some sort. And of course, Yuri is doing his share of lying. Everyone's kind of lying to one another there. But I think Endo argues that it's kind of necessary for that to happen, for a family to be real peaceful, without things falling apart and everyone realizing the uncomfortable truth about everyone else. There's an interesting quote that I would like to read to you from this. Everyone has a secret self they don't show to other people, not to friends, not to lovers, not even to family. They hide who they are and what they want behind lies and painted smiles, and thus the world maintains its thin veneer of peace. And that's an interesting quote, just because it goes like Endo's acknowledging that we all kind of lie to one another, lie to our family members and our friends, that there are aspects that we don't show. And by doing that, like we maintain peace, we maintain a calm within the family, and nobody has to know an uncomfortable truth about one another. But you would also think that if you valued family, you would tell them everything. Maybe that's a little naive of me to say, but if you hide a big aspect of yourself and your family finds out, that's gonna be a little bit hurtful for them. But Endo is saying, we all have our weird, uncomfortable truths that we prefer not to acknowledge. And so we're kind of living in that illusion, which is somewhat pessimistic when you consider family. But for Endo, that illusion is key in this story. Another thing I really like about this volume is Anya's characterization in this story. We got to know her a little bit in the previous volume, but she was mainly like a gimmick character where it was like, oh, she's a psychic, and you didn't really explore that as much as Endo could have. But here you get plenty of exploration and development of who she is and what she's hoping for. Like it's an increased focus on Anya, but you see that she wants to help. Like she wants Loid to succeed for selfish reasons, but also because she's a very caring young child. But she's only a child, so she can't fully help Loid. Like she's under an immense amount of pressure because she knows that Loid wants her to get closer to Desmond. That Loid wants her to succeed in order for her to be in a position where Loid can further spy and succeed in his mission and maybe continue their pretend family down the road. But that's very difficult for her because she's still a young child. She's not very interested in grades, and it's a lot to expect of a small child to be able to confidently lie and maneuver her way to through all of this just for the sake of Loid. So she's under a lot of stress that she can't quite figure out how to deal with. But we do see that she's also sincere. She's very loving, especially to these people that she knows. Like one is an assassin and the other is a spy. Like she knows they're not really her family, but they're as close as she's going to get coming from the orphanage. She also seems to be very burdened by her telepathy. In particular, there's a spot where after she punches Damien, the other kids are thinking mean thoughts about her, like how she's weird or unusual, or how they're kind of scared of her because of what she did to Damien. And you see all those thoughts and how she's very sad about it. But you also see positive thoughts from her friend Becky, and so that kind of lifts her up. And it's a very fun portrayal of the telepathy compared to the previous volume, which I'll get to in a moment. But it's you see how the telepathy is affecting her. She can't really turn it off, so she's just kind of forced to hear everyone's thoughts, which can't be helpful in a very crowded school area. There are other things I like about this, including the improved portrayal of the telepathy in this volume. In the previous volume, it was hard to distinguish between what was being said and what was being thought. It was a little bit of a struggle there, but here there is a clear distinction with how words are highlighted and how that's sort of written out on the page, which I appreciate. Also, you don't really see Anya reacting to it so much in this volume. You more see a various section of her face reacting in surprise sometimes, which again I like. It's just a better art style, better way of depicting that kind of dialogue, that kind of communication. The only thing I don't like about this volume is it does feel a little bit light on the plot. In this particular volume, not a lot really happens. Anya gets admitted. She gets into a fight with Desmond, and then she apologizes, and that's when Yuri comes in. There's not a whole lot going on for Yor here, and all Twilight really does is he gets information from his handlers saying that he has to make sure that Anya gets into the Imperial Scholars program, that she succeeds academically. So you don't really see a lot happen here, and I wish there was a little bit more meat and a little bit more to think about. But it's still a very wholesome, pretty fun volume. Maybe more focus on character, but I would have liked a little bit more plot here. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Volume 2 of Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. I definitely recommend that you read this series if you haven't done so already. It's probably best to start at Volume 1, so I don't recommend that you jump into Volume 2, but Volume 1 and 2 have been a lot of fun. And Volume 1 was very interesting, but Volume 2 definitely has a lot more to think about, a lot more character development. It definitely takes the premise, the idea of the spy family, and really explores it a little bit more and sees what they can do with it. So I'm very much looking forward to other future volumes, even though I know, given the plot and stuff, it's probably going to be a bit sadder at some point, because they have to find out eventually. Like, these goals are in contrast to one another, so certainly someone is going to end up getting hurt, unfortunately. But hopefully the humor and whatnot can continue as well. If you have any thoughts on this particular volume, or you want to comment on my review here, do so below. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join the Discord so more people can find out about this book or this author, or if you just want to have conversations about books or manga or comic books or whatnot. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and academically excellent travels. Farewell.